Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Joy and today we are going to be talking about adoption. By the time I'm posting this, it'll be I think like either 3 or 4 days since my first YouTube video ever on this channel, which I think is absolutely amazing, and I just thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to post a video about adoption because I've only posted 2 before. So here's my first adoption video if you want to check it out, and here's my second adoption video that I talk about more like basic stuff, but this first one's like about me, and then this second one is about like adoptees in general. But if you want to go check out those videos, you can totally go ahead and do so. If you didn't know already, I am adopted from Guatemala and I was adopted at 3 months, and this video is going to be answering your guys' questions, or I guess you could say assumptions, about being adopted. I asked on my Instagram and Snapchat if you guys had any questions about either me personally being adopted or being adopted in general. So here they are. Also, I'm looking at my MacBook, and then I also have questions here. What is typically the age limit for being adopted? Now, I actually had to look this one up because since I'm only 15 and a half, I didn't really know the oldest you can be when you're adopted, but fun fact, you can be adopted as an adult. The person that is adopting you just has to be over the age of 21, I believe. I'll put a little blurb of how old you have to be to adopt, but yeah, you can be adopted at any age really, even if you're an adult. And the next question is, was I ever in foster care? I was actually. I was put into foster care right after I was put up for adoption, but only for a few months since I was adopted at 3 months. Okay, next question. Can being adopted be traumatic? Yes, 100%. Being adopted, like, that's the definition, honestly, of traumatic stress. I don't know, you're like ripped away from the only thing you've ever known your entire existence on this planet, and you're like being held, and you're like, I'm being held by somebody who is calling me their mother, but this is not my mother. You never truly heal. I mean, it's traumatic. Some of my friends don't even acknowledge that they are adopted, and that is what you would call adoption fog, because like they don't realize that adoption is something that is very traumatic. So I'm kind of babbling on about that. Bottom line, adoption is traumatic, but as for me personally, I don't feel the traumatic stress like on a daily basis. I definitely do feel it sometimes because like for obvious reasons. And if you want me to make a video about that, put it in the comments down below, because actually I have a lot of interesting stories on that. How does it feel like being adopted? Like, is it scary or is it comforting? I feel like adoption, I like the word you use. If you know who you are who asked this question, I actually like the word comforting. Adoption is kind of like a very comforting feeling, at least for me, because my mother, like my adoptive mother, literally chose me, and I know for sure that she will not leave me. And I feel like that's like a blanket of comfortness. I do not know how to describe it, but I definitely feel like that is comfortable. And as for the how does it feel? I mean, I was adopted at such a young age that this is really all I know. Like my home, my family, like this is all that I've ever known. So it feels just like a life. It feels like my life. So it doesn't feel weird, it doesn't feel different. Like when I go back to meet my birth parents and stuff like that, and when I go back to Guatemala, then it feels a bit different because the culture and the society is just completely different from America. So 100% I'll feel different and I guess weird and honestly out of place there, but I don't really think it's like scary. I definitely say it's comforting. It's kind of scary when you go back to your birth country for the first time, but yeah. Okay, next question. How has adoption affected your relationships in life? This is a good question. I feel like I've never been asked this question, so when I first read it, I was like, oh, okay. I feel like adoption has affected my relationships, really just depending on the person. If somebody who is adopted talks to me and we become friends, I'm like, whoa, great. We can talk about things that I can't talk about with my other friends. But I honestly feel like kids these days, I feel like an old person saying it like that, but I feel like in my generation, like our generation that we live in right now, we joke about trauma a lot. And so with that being said, when I talk to my friends who aren't adopted, I honestly make jokes about being adopted. I just make jokes with them to, I guess, to seem more relatable. So I guess it does affect my friendships with people, but it really just depends on if they're adopted or not. Next question, do people treat you differently because you are adopted? Yes. Short answer, yes. A long answer, kinda, I guess. In elementary school, 100%, because the kids didn't know what adoption was, so they'd like look at me differently, talk to me differently, even make fun of me. But nowadays, I feel like most of my friends, I feel like I went through a period of time in my life where I would tell everybody that I was adopted. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then when I got into middle school, like the end of middle school, I went to a new middle school, and so I didn't really know anybody, and the topic of adoption never really came up. So a lot of my friends actually had no idea that I was actually adopted. And then in school, they would be like, oh yeah, like I was born here, and I'd be like, actually I was adopted from Guatemala. And by then they were old enough to realize that that is actually a really cool thing, and so they were like, oh my god, you're adopted. But when I'm like being introduced to new people and stuff like that, my friends aren't like, yeah, this is Deanna and she's adopted. Like, adoption at this point is just something that's a part of me, but it doesn't define me. So I hope that answers your question. And then I just remembered another question that I got. I didn't write it down, but somebody asked me, is it worth it? Do you think it's worth to adopt? And they were like, you know, I feel like I want kids, and I just want your honest opinion if you think adoption is worth it. I would honestly say that adoption is a lot of work. Like, I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat it and say, oh yeah, adoption is an amazing thing. Like, obviously it is, but it brings a lot to on your plate and a lot to the table. And obviously a lot of opportunities, but I mean, it is drama. You are bringing in a child or an adult or a person. You are bringing in a person who was left and who was abandoned when they thought they wouldn't be. Because when you're born, you're like naturally, honestly expecting from your mother and from your parents that they will be there for you and that they will care for you and that they will love you. And then they give you away. They desert you. Like, your only like sense of home and security is like gone. Obviously speaking from my point of view, because I was adopted as a baby, but it could be like that for other people. You're bringing a lot to the table, and obviously you don't know what kind of kid you're gonna get. You don't know what kind of not problems, but what kind of thoughts they're gonna have, what kind of questions they're gonna have, and it's a lot. I'm not gonna say that it's an amazing thing and you call them your own and they think they're your child. Like, some kids like completely hate their adoptive parents and they can't accept their adoptive parents as their parents, and they're just like, I'm so confused, I'm so frustrated. And so honestly, it just depends with the kid, but I would 100% take that risk. Me personally, I feel like when I grow up I want to adopt, because then I can have that connection with that kid, with whoever I adopt. So I think I'll end up doing that personally, but I think adoption is an amazing thing, but it's definitely a lot to think about. But I love talking about adoption. I love helping people just see that adoption is a freaking cool thing. And if you are adopted, if you are thinking about adopting, if you don't like adoption, whatever your feelings may be toward adoption, give it a chance. It's a lot on the person who is adopted, and it's a lot on the person who adopts. They all have a story. They all have a story of how they came to be, and just think of it as an incomplete family becoming complete. Blood does not make you related. It does, but that's not the only way you can be related. Just keep that in mind. Adoption obviously doesn't define you, but it's not something that you should keep hidden, because every adoption story is so unique and so different and so cool that, I mean, why wouldn't you want to share that with the world? And not even with the world, maybe with your friends and with your like close friends or something like that. But I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this is kind of a weird video to film, but I don't want to like bore you guys with like the same kind of details of my adoption story. But if you guys want a full detailed adoption video, let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you guys have a good day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button down below. Have a great day, guys. Bye.